Our next speaker, David McNally, has enjoyed an extensive international business career, including assignments in South Africa, Europe, and the South Pacific. And today, we will hear his compelling message. So please join me in welcoming our special guest speaker, Mr. David McNally.
My subject today is called How Purposeful Leaders Build Inspired Organizations and Iconic Brands. Here is one of the most important insights you can have as a leader. Right? Leadership is not about what we learn to do to others. Leadership is about what we learn to be for others. So it's about how do we become the kind of person others want to follow. How do we become that? Well, there are core elements to leadership. Number one, when you think of all great relationships, the relationships that you would say are rock solid in your mind, whether they're professional or personal relationships, and I'll give you the foundation of that relationship and see if you agree with me. The foundation of any great relationship is trust. Would you agree? It's trust. Trust is the key to great relationship. So obviously, therefore, in leadership, in the core element, the first core element for us is to be a trust builder. That we have to build trust with our people. That's the first thing that we need to do because that makes everything possible. But we have to understand that people cannot see inside of us. They cannot see what we intend. What they do is they observe every day what we do. Right? And so therefore, trust is built by our actions.
David McNally connects people to the power of purpose through his unique gifts and his unmitigated passion for helping businesses and individuals thrive. He has inspired millions from the stage, on film, and with his best-selling books. His film, Even Eagles Need a Push, was recognized as the #1 personal empowerment training film in the world. David's loyal following has garnered him several speaking honors, election to the Speakers Hall of Fame, recognition by a leading speakers bureau as one of the world's top 50 business speakers, and most recently, a Lifetime Achievement Award.
And I want to start with a little story about my daughter. I have 4 daughters. Sarah is the oldest of my 4 daughters. My son is right in the middle of the 4 girls, and I'm thrilled to say his therapy is going great. But I can remember looking at my first child being pushed out of the nest, and there was a question in my mind that came like this, and I said, how will I know I have been a successful parent? As I'm pushing Sarah out of the nest and she's going off to create her own life, what would be a quality? If I had to refine it down to one thing, what would that one thing be that I would want her to have more than any other quality? Now, there's so many that we can think about, so many of them. But when I got down to this one, I realized it was the most important one for me, and the reason being is because that same quality impacts my life today. And it's the simplest thing. But here's what it is. Confidence. Just to be confident. But let me define what I mean by confidence. It is the confidence to take the risks that we need to take if we are to live the lives we imagine for ourselves. But there's another part of confidence, because life doesn't always work out the way you thought. It takes some interesting detours. It provides some major challenges in life, and I've been through several of them. But it's the confidence that no matter what challenges life presents, you know you can handle it. You can read all the books, you can go to all the seminars, you can listen to all the speakers, but I'll give you an answer that over and over comes up at being at the core of the being of people who have this level of confidence. And it simply comes down to this. They have a sense of purpose. They believe that their lives matter. That even though there's 7 billion people on the planet, they believe that they bring something to the world that nobody else does. More specifically, they have answers to 3 of life's most important questions. The first question is this: why am I here? Now that's a deep, philosophical, somewhat existential question, but all I can say is that they believe that they are here for a reason. The second question is a little bit more tangible. What do I have to contribute that will make a difference? People look for the keys to happiness. Well, I don't have all the keys, but I do know one of them. And that is, when you use your gifts and talents and abilities doing something that makes a difference, that's a great contributor to being happy. But there's a third question. What do I value and believe in? You see, success at anything we do requires commitment. But we do not commit ourselves to that which we don't believe in. When you think about purpose and vision, they are asking 2 different questions. Purpose is answering the question, why do we exist? You know, when we show up every day, what purpose are we endeavoring to fulfill? When you think about vision, you're looking at what do we want to create? And one follows the other. When you look at purpose, it's about contribution. When you look at vision, it's about achievement. It was the story of a remarkable Canadian boy who'd run the greatest marathon run in history. His name was Terry Fox. Like Terry, I had many goals in my life, but Terry had this thing called purpose. And I said, that's it. That's the magic for you, David. What's your purpose? How do you bring purpose into your life now? Well, I started to think about it, and I said to myself, well, you know, what Terry did was a very noble thing, but you don't want to do that. I mean, you can't run around the block, let alone run across, you know, Minnesota or somewhere like that. So what are you going to do? Well, I said to myself, well, you're a businessman. So what's the purpose of a business? Well, that was an interesting question. What's the purpose of a business? Because if I asked you what the purpose of a business was, you would probably say, make money. Purpose of a business is to make money. When we don't think about it, of course, the purpose of a business is to make money. Except let's challenge that a little bit. Language is the software of the mind. Think of the word make. Now, I know that the purpose of a business is not to make money. You know how I know that? I know it because I have a second cousin in England who spent 10 years in prison for making money. The Wall Street Journal does not report on a company's makings. It reports on a company's earnings. So we have to earn it. That means we have to earn our patients' trust. We have to earn the right to serve them. So what is it then that we all share in common, whether we're in a business, we're in a not-for-profit, it doesn't matter who we are. What do we share in common? Well, what we share in common is this. Everything revolves around a fundamental principle. And that principle is the principle of contribution. Our success is in relationship to our contribution. I have never found a person ever that couldn't do something better than I can. But I also have never found a person ever that I couldn't do something better than he or she. No matter how brilliant they are, no matter what their genius is, you can go through them all, but there is something that all of us has that gives us the ability to do something better than someone else.
Sure.
So the brilliance is sometimes hidden, right? It might be like a flickering candle, but given the right opportunity, that brilliance gets to shine forth. But the one game that you and I play every day is called the game of life. Every morning we wake up and we're in the game. So my question is, how do we know whether we're winning the game of life? Well, there are many answers to that as well, but I'm going to suggest to you this is the only one that really has meaning. You know how you're winning the game of life by how you feel about life. How you feel about life. That even in the middle of your life, even in the middle of a losing season in your life, you still want to play the game.